أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وهو على كل شيء قدير. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا وهو العزيز الغفور. الذي خلق 7 سماوات طباقا ما ترى في خلق الرحمن من تفاوت فارجع البصر هل ترى من فطور ثم ارجع البصر قرتين ينقلب إليك البصر خاسئا وهو حسير. ولقد زينا السماء الدنيا بمصابيح وجعلناها رجوما للشياطين وأعتدنا لهم عذاب السعير. وللذين كفروا بربهم عذاب جهنم وبئس المصير. إذا ألقوا فيها سمعوا لها شهيقا وهي تفور تكاد تميز من الغيظ كلما ألقي فيها فوج سألهم خزنتها ألم يأتكم نذير قالوا بلى قد جاءنا النذير فكذبنا وقلنا ما نزل الله من شيء إن أنتم إلا في ضلال كبير. وقالوا لو كنا نسمع أو نعقل ما كنا في أصحاب السعير فاعترفوا بذنبهم فسحقا لأصحاب السعير. إن الذين يخشون ربهم بالغيب لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. وأسروا قولكم أو اجهروا به إنه عليم بذات الصدور. ألا يعلم من خلق وهو اللطيف الخبير. هو الذي جعلكم الأرض ذلولا فامشوا في مناكبها وكلوا من رزقه وإليه النشور. أأمنتم من في السماء أن يخسف بكم الأرض فإذا هي تمور أم أمنتم من في السماء أن يرسل عليكم حاصبا فستعلمون كيف نظير. ولقد كذب الذين من قبلهم فكيف كان نكير. أولم يروا إلى الطير فوقهم صافات ويقبض ما يمسكهن إلا الرحمن إنه بكل شيء بصير. أمن هذا الذي هو جند لكم ينصركم من دون الرحمن إن الكافرون إلا في غرور. أمن هذا الذي يرزقكم إن أمسك رزقه بل لجوا في عتو ونفور. أفمن يمشي مكبا على وجهه أهدى أمن يمشي سويا على صراط مستقيم. قل هو الذي أنشأكم وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. قل هو الذي ذرأكم في الأرض وإليه تحشرون. ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين. قل إنما العلم عند الله وإنما أنا نذير مبين. فلما رآه زلفة سيئت وجوه الذين كفروا وقيل هذا الذي كنتم به تدعون قل أرأيتم إن أهلكني الله ومن إياه أو رحمنا فمن يجير الكافرين من عذاب أليم قل هو الرحمن آمنا به وعليه توكلنا فستعلمون من هو في ضلال مبين قل أرأيتم إن أصبح ماؤكم غورا فمن يأتيكم بماء معين صدق الله العلي العظيم. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات ثواب الفاتحة.
إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن عليا ولي الله أشهد أن عليا حجة الله. هيا على الصلاة هيا على الصلاة هيا على الفلاح هيا على الفلاح هيا على خير العمل هيا على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وأن عليا ولي الله عليه الصلاة والسلام. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. إنه كان. الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربنا. الله أكبر. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته وارفع درجته بحول الله وقوته. أقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. استغفر الله من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع له لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. إلهي عظم الذنب من عبدك فليحسن العفو من عندك يا كريم. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. صل على الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله. Allahu Akbar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So last week we finished going through the about 21 to 22 different mustahabbat in sujood. Today we want to go through all the makruhat in sujood, and there's only 4 of them, so we should be able to get it done today. So the first is, and let me give this as a disclaimer too. When we say something is makruh and it involves some sort of ibadah, what that means is just that the thawab that's normally reserved for it is just reduced to some degree. Right? So for an example, reciting Quran in sujood is makruh. Now, can you do it? Yes. Will you get reward for it? Yes. But it is makruh. So the reward of reciting Quran in that sujood is going to be less than if you did it, let's say, standing up, lying down, sitting down, something like that. Right? The second thing that's makruh in sujood is wherever your turba, your more, wherever you're using as a sajdaga, if you blow on that area. Now, it doesn't really happen to us. Sometimes it might, sometimes when you have those like freshly kind of sandpapered turba, sometimes a little dust is on there, or maybe there's a bug around there or something, so maybe you blow. Okay, it's makruh to do something like that, right? The third is, and I haven't really seen too many people do this, but when you're getting up from one sajda and getting down to the next. So normally we're in the habit, you get up, you put your hands somewhere, on your knees, on your thighs. As we said last time, it's recommended to keep your hands on your thighs, right? In between the 2 sajdas and in general when you're sitting down. Some people, whether it's because of old age, back problems, or just maybe out of habit, some people, when they get up from the first sajda, they keep their hands down on the floor. They get up, and they'll say, Astaghfirullah rabbi wa atubu ilayh, and they go back down. Right? So you're allowed to do that technically, but it is makruh. So again, some of the reward and ajr of salah is reduced a little bit if you keep your hands on the ground in between those 2 sajdas. And the final one, which I think we had mentioned last time too, when we were talking about different sitting positions. So again, this one's kind of hard to illustrate, and I didn't bring a picture or anything, but when, whether it's in between the 2 sajdas, or in sajda itself, or when you're sitting in julus itself, right, or tashahhud. We talked about what is tawarruk, right, the way that a person's supposed to sit, right, with their kind of leg crossed over, and their leg going like that. That's the recommended way. The makruh way, as we said, they call it sitting like a dog, where the balls of your feet, they're on the ground and your back is rested on your heels. That is not recommended, and it's pretty painful actually to do that anyway. So it's makruh to do that, so you reduce and lose some of the rewards in your salah if you sit in that manner. Right? So that's it for the makruhat, inshallah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أشهد أن محمد رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم وأن عليا حجة الله عليه الصلاة والسلام حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر، لا إله إلا الله. استغفر الله من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع له لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم، صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله ربنا. الله أكبر. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا وبعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع له لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. أستغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما هو أهله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وتقبل شفاعته في أمته وارفع درجته. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. أستغفر الله من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. سمع له لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد وأركع وأسجد. أستغفر الله من كل ذنب وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع له لمن حمد. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم إلهي أنت كما نحب فجعلنا كما تحب. الله أكبر. بسم الله وبالله والحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. لا إله إلا الله. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. استغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. استغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. استغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه.
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات. یوں کربلا میں لٹ گیا کنبہ حسین کا، محتاج ہے کفن کو بھی لاشا حسین کا. بھیا تمہارے مرنے سے ٹوٹی میری کمر، بھائی کی لاش پر تھا یہ نوحہ حسین کا. یوں کربلا میں لٹ گیا. یہ کہ اپنے خیمے سے زینب نکل پڑی، سر کاٹ رہا ہے اب میرے بھیا حسین کا. یوں کربلا میں لٹ گیا. ایک بچی قید خان میں کہتی تھی شمر سے، اب تو دکھا دے سر مجھے، ہے بابا حسین کا. یوں کربلا میں لٹ گیا. زینب یہ بولی ہند سے، چادر میں کیا کروں، اڑیا پڑا ہے دشت میں لاشا حسین کا. یوں کربلا میں لٹ گیا. یہ کہ حرملا کو نہ روکا کسی نے، اب ظالم تیرا یہ تیر یہ بچہ حسین کا. یوں کربلا میں لٹ گیا کنبہ حسین کا. محتاج ہے کفن کو بھی لاشا حسین کا. محمد صلوات.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Sayyid Hasan, Rizvi, respected elders, dearest brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum, Jamia wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Surah Fatiha is requested for all marhameen listed on the screen, as well as all other marhameen. Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha. Dua Shifai Maries is requested for all those in need here and elsewhere, as well as those listed on the screen. Let us recite together, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 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 أَمَّن يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَاهُ وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Ya Allah. Let us now invite Sayyid Hasan Rizvi to please come forward for tonight's Majlis. Dua al-Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد. ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الأولين والآخرين إلى قيام يوم الدين. أما بعد. صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. Mu'mineen, mu'minat, brothers and sisters in Islam and Iman, Salamun alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You know, right now in the world, you ask a lot of people, what they say we need less of is hate and what we need more of is love, right? It's a common cliche that you hear a lot. And if you think about it, it's not just individuals who are trying to foster and engender more love in their relationships, right? Sometimes it happens. Sometimes in a household between a husband and wife, they want to try to rekindle the spark and reignite that initial love that they had. So they're looking to foster and cultivate love. Sometimes it's outside of human relationships. Sometimes it's corporations and businesses too, right? They have a certain brand or a product and they're trying to create some sort of love for that as well. So people have various different motives, and when you have different motives, you have different applications, different strategies, different techniques on how you actually want to create that sense of love, right? So many, especially if they have, let's say, a heinous or an ulterior motive, the tricks or the strategies they'll employ have to do with exerting power or influence, right? Kind of playing games with people. And that's a way of creating a false sense of love in individuals. And it happens a lot, right? Sometimes the intention might be good, but the way that we go about it may not be the best way, right? There's a whole discussion in psychology about love languages, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, where some person might say, let me get this person a gift. So they go and they spend a lot of money, they do a lot of thinking, they buy a gift. But that other person, their love language was not receiving and accepting gifts. So this just seems like you're just spending money, right? That's not the way that I accept and perceive love. So this is the way that some people do it, with money, gifts, things like that. Other people will use these kind of psychological tricks, again, whether their motives are good or bad. Right? A lot of times, you see in some of these like YouTube Psych 101 channels, they have these quick little videos of how to make somebody fall in love with you, or how to create love and XYZ, things like that. So it's all around the world right now. And I think for each and every one of us, there's probably some relationship in our life, there's some area where we'd love to create more love. Even if we're satisfied with the way that things are going, there's always room for more, right? We can always create a more loving relationship with the people around us. So the difference between us and other individuals, us as aspiring followers of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, is that our motives, like the Ahlul Bayt, need to be purified, and therefore our strategies and techniques need to be according to the Ahlul Bayt as well. We're not looking for quick psychological tricks. We're not looking to exert power and influence and try to control individuals. That's not what we're trying to do. We are trying to actually create a sense of love between mankind in general, between those who have some understanding of Tawheed or Allah, obviously between all Muslimin, and between us as Shia community members, etc. Right? So that's what we're all trying to do. So tonight, as we commemorate on the 29th of Dhul Qa'ad, we want to see how this has been explained in three very short principles in a riwayah attributed to our ninth holy Imam, Imam Al-Jawad alayhi salatu wassalam. So he's reported to have said, ثلاث خصال تجتلب بهن المحبة. There's three traits and characteristics that will cultivate, foster, and attract this mahabba, this sense of love. Right? So we want to go piece by piece through all of them. So I'm going to go, normally I like to go piece by piece. I'm going to read the whole hadith and then we'll kind of go back. Right? Because there's only three things. First one is al-insaf fil mu'ashara. Insaf meaning justice or fairness, or you can even translate it as equity in mu'ashara, in relationships that we have. Second, wal mu'asatu fi shiddati wal intiwa'. Mu'asat can sometimes mean assistance, it can mean help or support. In this instance, as we'll discuss in a few minutes, here it means charity or financial support. But in what? Fi shidda wal intiwa'. When there's difficulty and there's a challenge, and when things are a bit easier. And the third thing is وَالرُّجُوعِ إِلَى قَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ, and returning to qalbin salim, this pure, at peace, tranquil, protected heart. Now right off the bat, okay, the first two kind of make sense, right? Okay, justice between people makes sense. Helping people out through support, even financially, okay, that sounds like it makes sense too, to create and foster love. What does this ruju' ila qalbin salim mean? Like returning with a protected heart? So inshallah, hopefully if we have time, if Allah gives us tawfiq, we'll try to tie all these three concepts together. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So to explain the first concept, al-insaf fil mu'ashara, justice or fairness in relationships. So let's first go to Surah Al-An'am, Surah 6, Ayah 152. Right? Not the whole part, but just the part that we are interested in is towards the middle of it. I think it's the second line, if I'm not mistaken. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ بِالْقِسْطِ. So give proper measure and weight, right, with justice. لَا نُكَلِّفُ نَفْسًا إِلَّا وُسْعَهَا. Right? We do not burden anybody. We don't put any wazifa or taklif on any nafs unless it can handle it, unless it's able to, it has the capacity for it. وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعْدِلُوا وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا قُرْبَى. And have the sense of adalat and justice, even if it is against your dhul qurba, even if it's against one of your own relatives. Right? وَبِعَهْدِ اللَّهِ أُوفُوا ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلُّكُمْ تَذَكَّرُونَ. And fulfill this covenant, this ahad with Allah. This is the way that Allah has ordered us. This is the wasi that He's given to us. If we will do this proper dhikr and remember that this is from Allah. Okay, so now let's go back here. So in this, kind of at the first read, when we see this, some of us know the context, right? Talking about giving full measure and weight. We know that back then in the marketplace, when people are selling various items, they're doing it by weight, right? So they have a scale there. You say, look, I want whatever, half a kilo of apples or something. So they'll have a certain type of rock or something that is supposed to weigh half a kilo. So they put it on one end, and then they start putting apples there, right? To say, okay, here's your half kilo, there you go. But what people would do is they'd start, chipping away at the rocks a little bit, or they would use false weights and measures, right? So this was obviously in terms of people in their businesses, they were ripping people off, they were skimming on things like that. So that's the Zahir, the exoteric, the basic meaning there too. So, okay, fulfill your covenant, right? These are your fellow Muslim brothers and sisters. Why are you cheating them like that? But the ulama expand, they say, look, this goes beyond that too, right? They say that adl, in one sense, has to do with legal things, which means, for example, testimonies too. If, for example, God forbid, one of our own family members does something haram, and it's not going to be the case over here, but let's say we were called to an Islamic court to testify, right? Even though they're our family, we would have to leave behind that jahiliyyah behavior that we talked about last time. In the age of jahiliyyah, yes, you stick to your tribe, you stick to your family. Like I can't, I'm not going to stitch on my own family member. It's not going to happen. But in an Islamic context, like yes, you are my brother, you're my blood brother or sister, whatever. You're my uncle, my aunt, whatever it happens to be, even my mother or father, or even my spouse. But what's just in terms of the eyes of Allah is different. There is no relationship here. I have to testify properly here. I have to tell the truth, right? So all those sort of affiliations go down the drain, and that's why over here it says you have to be just, even if it ends up happening to your own relative, right? So this idea of insaf in relationships, right? It takes it a bit further. Is even when we end up, speaking to individuals, sometimes we don't actually speak with full sense of justice, with a full sense of equality. Sometimes what happens is this, is we might be harsher in our speech with people we're not really related with, people that we kind of keep at a distance. Maybe I just know them through the internet. Maybe they're not even part of our community. So yeah, I can be a bit harsher to them. But to my own family or to my own friends, I end up finding it very, very difficult to advise them to engage in amr bil ma'ruf, nahy anil munkar. So that means I'm not being equitable and fair in my relationships. The people who deserve that I act as a mirror to them are my number one, my spouse. If I have kids, parents, right? My nuclear family, my extended family, my friends. These are the people that I should help, and they should be helping me in turn become a better person, right? That's the idea. That's where that justice should come out. Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu was salam is reported to have said, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Man udima insafuhu lam yushab. A person in which real insaf and real equity and justice is non-existent, this person won't have a sahaba, they won't have any real companionship. He's not saying that you won't have friends. You can be an unfair person, an unjust person, and you can have friends, right? We know people who are evil, they have friends. But it's usually in spite of this. Meaning it's because they have this partiality, they play favorites with their own people, with their own little crowd, their circle. So if their friends, let's say, do something un-Islamic, they'll easily, it's not a big deal. They'll excuse it, right? But if somebody outside of their circle does something, then no, that's a big deal now. They're not doing insaf properly. Haqq is haqq, batil is batil, right? Regardless of who's doing it. This is outside of the discussion of giving people, 40, 70 excuses. That's not what we're talking about. We're saying that there has to be a level of justice and fairness and equity in the way that we're dealing in all our relationships. Somebody, I might have a very, very close relationship. Maybe they're my best friend. Somebody else, okay, they're a family member. Maybe I'm not super close to them. But am I being fair in between both of them? Because I have a better relationship, am I going to be kinder? Am I going to do less amr nahi? Right, this is sort of the idea over here, is that we should be able to engage in proper, speech patterns, speaking haqq when needed, calling out batil when we have to. We have to be able to be equitable in the way that we're acting with individuals, right, who are our close relationships, community members, etc. And our behavior should be reflective of that, right? So this is the first point that was mentioned by the Imam. Let's go on to the second. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the second, the Imam mentions, وَالْمُؤَاسَاتُ فِي الشِّدَّةِ وَالْإِنْطِوَاعِ. Mu'asat literally means assistance, it means support, aid, sometimes it can mean healing, things like that. So sometimes it's used in terms of nursing, right? When you nurse somebody back to health. So the context that we have in many riwayat, we've actually talked about riwayat that are similar to this, is mu'asat that usually primarily has to do with financial issues, right? So the first thing the Imam was talking about was that in order to foster love and cultivate love, what do? You need to be fair in your relationships, be just and equitable. The second thing is that he's like, you have to be charitable too. You have to be financially supportive of your friends, your brothers, your family members. And he gives two sort of qualities here, right? He says, fil shidda wal intiwa. The shidda, that's an easy way to understand it, right? Shidda, we know shidda, right? When things are tough, when things are challenging, right? That's when, some of us, it's funny that he puts it this way too. When we are dealing in a difficult time, then, because the Imam is not specifying here, so you can look at it in two different ways. Sometimes we are suffering financially, so when somebody else is suffering, it becomes difficult for us to kind of help out, right? Like somebody's like, I'm struggling right now, can't take care of rent or have hospital bills, whatever it is. Well, I'm actually struggling too, so it's very difficult for me to help out right now. Maybe, I'm saying here, okay, there might be something, a little bit that you might be able to help out this individual. Right? Because if they're coming to you, and they're a close friend of yours or family member, they must know that you're also in a dire situation. So they must be reaching out because it's probably much worse off for them than it is for you. So perhaps the Imam over here is saying that, this is the difficulty that's there. Intiwa, the other side the Imam's mentioning, intiwa is interesting, right? Because usually we have shidda and rakha. We have difficulty and ease mentioned in different words. Intiwa is coming from the same word as ita'at. Ita'at we know is obedience. Intiwa is a very rarely used word in Arabic. Very rarely used. It's not used anywhere in the Quran. In the riwayat, if I'm not mistaken, based on the little research I did, this is pretty much the only hadith that you'll see that's using this word. So intiwa has to, I think the best English translation is maybe compliance, something like that. So the easy translation is a state of ease, right? That puts things in perspective. You're doing very good, then you should be able to help out people, right? So yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm doing well financially. Somebody comes to me for help, right? Sponsor a majlis, whatever it is. Okay, sure. Yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm doing okay. So let me sponsor something. Let me help out, donate. Okay, that's easy. But perhaps this is actually what makes it more difficult. Now, let me explain after I share another riwayah from Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wassalam. And I think this will help us explain why this second part is actually more difficult than the first. He's reported to have said, أفضل المروة مؤاساة الإخوان بالأموال. The most afdal, the most superior level of muruwa. Muruwa is basically, if I'm using modern sort of English, is literally masculinity, right? It's like, this is the best way to show off that you are a real man, right? Is what مؤاساة الإخوان بالأموال. Is assisting, supporting, aiding, helping out your fellow brothers and sisters, obviously, with amwal, with property, with money. But then the second part, I think, helps put things in context. وَالْمُسَاوَاتُهُمْ فِي الْأَحْوَالِ. And having a level of equity and trying to create an equality in your ahwal, in your states. Now, what does that mean? Let me go back to what Imam al-Jawad had said in the second part of that previous part, right? He said, helping out people financially when it's difficult and when there's a sort of state of compliance and when it's easy to do so. For whom is it going to be easy constantly over and over and over again to help out, to donate? We know very well that, for example, in this community, like many communities, there are, mashallah, alhamdulillah, people who are doing very, very well, right? Financially, they don't have issues, alhamdulillah. So they're the ones who come, they sponsor, they donate, they do it humbly too. So for them, it's a state of ease when somebody comes to them to offer something. The difficult part is the second one, which other ulama have tried to stress and do, but this becomes a very difficult thing. We've talked about this in previous discussions as well. The Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, whenever they would give charity, it's a lot different than the way that you and I kind of give our handouts. A handout is what? Somebody's kind of starving or suffering. All right, here's a granola bar, here's some food, here's tabarruk, here's niyaz, here's $20, $100. It's supposed to help you for today, maybe for the week, or if we're super generous, maybe it'll help you this month. And then afterwards, see you later, right? Khudafis, you're on your own. The Ahlul Bayt, in many, many occasions, the level of mu'asat, the level of support that they're offering, completely takes somebody from one economic class to another economic class. They take somebody who's poor on the street, homeless, has nothing, and they make them some of the most wealthiest people in the Arab Peninsula at that time. This is the way the Ahlul Bayt would deal with charity. They weren't dealing with symptoms, they were dealing with the disease. A person who's struggling has no means of independence. The Imam saying, look, my state is that, as the Imams are, we're independent, right? Yes, whatever they were doing, they were always independent, especially financially. So when they saw other individuals, yes, sometimes maybe they did give little handouts here and there, but where they really did shine is where they took people out of that abject poverty, complete poverty. And they took them to a place that said, okay, here's some money to start you off. Here's some animals that you can use to now, let's say, start a farm or whatever. You can use that to milk them and then sell the milk, or have the meat, the wool, whatever it is. So now you become a business person, so now you're going to be independent as well. When you do that, you'll have this wealth, and then you'll be able to share the wealth then in turn as well too. This is the way that they would deal with it. So this state of compliance or ease, perhaps that the Imam al-Jawad is talking about here, is that for many individuals, they're constantly in a state where they're doing okay, that they have a lot of extra money. But it's very difficult even amongst friends that, okay, sometimes in our friend circle, we have people of different economic classes, right? I'm somebody that might be doing, alhamdulillah, very well off. Maybe my friends are still struggling with debt, mortgage, car payments, loans, medical bills, whatever it is. A higher level that the Imam's saying over here to foster that real muhabbat and love is to say, look, I want to sit down, and this is a very tough thing, but I want to break through this sort of class divide that exists between us. And again, the first point, it should be with family members, then to kind of friends, is let's sit down and let's create a realistic plan to bring you out of these difficult financial situations. How many people are actually willing to say, hey, let me help, let's say, pay off your mortgage so that you get out of this interest-based, riba-based system? How many people are suffering in these kind of loans that many are forced to deal with over here? Even though there are Islamic banking options, but sometimes whether better or worse, it's a different discussion. But wouldn't it be really amazing if we were able within our own community, with all the wealth that's available to us, say, look, we don't need to give these individuals who are putting us into economic slavery, we don't need to support them. We don't need to help out these banks. Why would we prop up their system, which is based on batil? Why are we doing that? Why are we allowing our mu'mineen, mu'minat to do that? We already have this, the necessary resources over here. Why don't we help each other out in our own communities? Right, again, our own families, our friend circle, and then at large our community. Say, look, we don't need to help out the outsiders, we can take care of ourselves. And people always give the examples of other certain communities which already do that. Say, oh, we need to start doing that. Okay, so let's start. Start with the smallest, most, the closest person that you know, whether it's a family member or a friend. Start with them and see how you can practically get them out and give them that sense of independence that many of you here do enjoy as well. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Now the last one. Right, so the first was insaf, meaning being just and fair in all relationships. Second is this financial assistance when difficult and in a state of ease. And this third one, which we said seems a bit strange when you try to put it in context. وَالرُّجُوعُ إِلَىٰ قَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. Imam's saying this third quality, which can help attract, foster, and cultivate muhabbat and love, is ruju, returning to qalbin salim, returning to a heart that is salim, that's in a state of protection, that's in a state of that feels good, it's tranquil, it's at peace. Like, what does that have to do with the first two? What connection can there be? So, one way, so let me share first this hadith. This is attributed to Imam Ja'far as-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. So, as many of you know, that this idea of qalbin salim is addressed in the Quran, specifically in Surah Al-Shu'ara, Surah 26, Ayah 89. But we'll go through Ayah 88 and 89 so you can see the context, right? Where it says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفُعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ. That day, meaning the day of Qiyamah, judgment, where mal and banoon, wealth, kids, they're not going to help us out at all. إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهِ بِقَلْبٍ salim. Except the person who comes to Allah with qalbin salim, with that protected and sound heart. So somebody asked Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, okay, what is this qalbin salim then? Like, can you explain what that actually means? So Imam replies to him, Al-qalbu salim alladhi yalqa rabbahu wa laysa fihi ahadun siwa. A real qalb salim, this protected, tranquil, this heart that's at peace, is a heart which meets its Rabb while there is nothing else except Allah present in that heart. It's one of those super irfani things, right? Like, what do you mean? Like a heart that comes to Allah with nothing else in there? That's tough. But, qalbin salim is a very high status to reach, right? So Imam's giving us what that is. وَكُلُّ قَلْبٍ فِيهِ الشِّرْكُ أو شَك. So in any qalb, in any heart where there is what? Shirk. And that means all kinds of shirk. Obviously this is for Muslims, so it's not talking about, well, in my heart is Allah and Ganesh. That's not what Imam's talking about over here, obviously, right? He's talking about the fact that I have shirk or khafi. That I come to Allah, say, Allah, I'm coming to you, but I actually also want Jannah too. Allah, I'm coming to you, but I want all these benefits as well too. So that's hidden shirk as well, right? I'm looking for these benefits. So if you come with shirk or shak, you have any sort of doubt as well, then فَهُوَ سَاقِط. This is what's called, it's the opposite of qalbin salim. Qalbin saqit is a failing heart. So qalbin salim is a heart that's protected, it's at peace, it's tranquil. Qalbin saqit is one that's failing, it's going down. And literally you can use that picture of a heart that's just stuck down to the dunya. It's still lost and kind of alienated in this place. And then Imam continues and ends here, وَإِنَّمَا أَرَادُوا الزُّهْدَ فِي الدُّنْيَا لِتَفْرُغُ قُلُوبَهُم لِلْآخِرَةِ. This kind of person, their only irada is zuhd. That qalb of theirs, their heart, they're trying to detach from this world completely as much as possible so that it can have this emptiness and this space for nothing but akhirah. That's all they're looking for. And again, in this sense, akhirah, meaning they just want to meet their Rabb, that mulaqat al-Rabb, that's all they're looking for. So now, with all that there, okay, but what does this have to do with the previous two things, right? Being charitable and kind to people and being fair with them, helping people financially, like what does this like weird irfani thing have to do with the other two? So let's kind of summarize and put this in context. If you can recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Rather than seeing these as sort of three separate ideas and traits, think about them as kind of tartib and pecking order. Now, let's say we have somebody, again, maybe an estranged family member, maybe it's a friend, and there's some issue that now that kind of close relationship has died off. We're trying to create and engender and maybe recreate a sense of love. Okay, so what do I have to do? Okay, so I need to learn to be fair in the way that I'm approaching. The way that I speak to this person, I have to be fair. Maybe the way I was speaking to them wasn't the best way. So let me be fair in the way I'm doing it. Maybe I was acting kinder to all my other friends, but to this one I was being a bit harsher. Okay, so I have to be a bit more fair. Right? So that first thing, the insaf there is, okay, let me change the way that I'm acting. Let me create that fairness, because maybe it wasn't there before, and maybe this will provide that proper level of love between in this relationship. But you know what? Sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you can do your best, speak in the best manner, speak lovingly, kindly, politely, professionally, whatever, and it just doesn't work. So perhaps then the next thing is like, okay, well, when kind words don't talk, then money talks sometimes, right? Sometimes, yeah, Imam's saying very clearly, sometimes what creates love is money. This is actually one of the, one day we can have a discussion about zakat. One of the ways that zakat is allowed to be used is to help bring people towards Islam as well, right? It's one of the uses of it. Even here, what happens is sometimes, yes, even amongst friends and family members, right? When there's one family member that's doing extremely well and the rest of them are struggling, sometimes you see those family members, even though they have a decent relationship, there's always that little shuck and that doubt or that small bit of jealousy that's in their heart. Like, my older brother, my older sister, or sometimes younger brother or sister, they're doing much better than me. I'm sitting here struggling with bills and bills, paycheck to paycheck, and they're, headed to, I don't want to start mentioning different islands in case people, visit them all the time. But, they're traveling all the time, taking vacations, multiple ziyarat, they're all over the place. And, I can't even leave Sanford or Lake Mary. Like, I'm stuck. So sometimes that creates and it detaches and breaks off a relationship even a little bit. So Imam here like, hey, if you can close that gap a little bit, right, monetarily, this is a way of rekindling that relationship and fostering that love, right? So that's the second. So it's almost as if, hey, be fair in your words, your actions, your judgments. If that doesn't work, maybe try the money route. Maybe that's what's actually necessary. But you know what? Sometimes that doesn't work too. You can shower somebody with gifts, you can help them out financially, and there's still some sourness and darkness in the relationship. There's still something missing. And at this point, what it seems like, though, is that if you've tried all these different things, giving a general principle, it's going to be different in every circumstance. You've tried everything. Look, I'm kind to the person. I've apologized for anything else I might have done in the past. I've tried to help out financially, but they're just cold, right? They're just rude to me. Like, I don't understand. So maybe then that's why the Imam's here saying that, okay, رجوع إلى قلب سليم. Go back and return to your qalb salim. Go back to your heart that you came into this whole sort of episode. You tried with a good niyyah to create and foster and engender love, right? You wanted to better a relationship. You tried one way. You tried another way. It didn't work out. So, okay, no problem. Say your salam. Say, no problem. I did what I could. Maybe there's some block in that person's heart. I'll just make dua for them. I'm not going to let them affect my heart. Go back to being at a state of ease. Don't let that sour your own heart. Because what happens to many of us is that when we see we've tried, we've reached out, we try to, I'm trying to reach out to this person. They're just closing me off. I've done the apology, helped out financially. They're just not responding, right? They're still kind of pushing back. They're just still harsh. Like, okay, no problem. Allah is the one who can bring these relationships together. If they've closed off their heart, then that's no problem. Why should it bother you? I shouldn't let my akhlaq waver and hesitate and go down because of somebody else's bad akhlaq. But you see, sometimes people, they do get sour. They get spiteful and vengeful. So rather than returning to qalbin salim, they go the other way and their heart becomes, harsh. Like, Allah, this person now, I wish the worst for them. They're not coming back to me. They're not helping me. They're not doing this and that. Right? So the nature of the relationship now, you were trying for love and then you end up in vengeance. You tried to go to create a better relationship, but sometimes people come back after having failed, zahiran, and they say, you know what, this is terrible. And they come out bitter because of that. Perhaps the Imam's saying, don't let that fostering or the attempt to foster love, don't let it foster hate within your own heart. Return to that natural state of peace, protection. Say, look, this is something that's in Allah's hands. I've done what I could. If I can do more and Allah inspires me, then I'll try to do that. Otherwise, I'm not going to let it affect my own akhlaq. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So once again, I'll just quickly summarize before I move on to the masa'ib. Imam said that there's 3 qualities that attract, foster, and engender muhabbat and love. Insaf al-mu'ashara, having this justice, fairness in relationships. Al-mu'asat fi shiddati wal-intiwa', financially supporting when it's difficult and when it's very easy. And we explained and said that sometimes this also means trying to help bring individuals, family members, friends, community members to a better economic situation and making them independent. And then if this doesn't work, then ruju' ila qalbin salim, go back to that peaceful, tranquil state where we don't have these kind of leftover attachments in the dunya. And you see that this is the way that the Ahlul Bayt were constantly acting, with Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam being no exception. That even amongst the difficult situation that he was dealing with in the state of the Ummah, after his father was poisoned, even amongst enemies, he was creating the sense of love, right? In his words, in his actions, in his judgments, financially supporting individuals, even when sometimes they were spying on him, when they were rude to him or harsh to him. This happened in the lives of many of the Ahlul Bayt. But you see that when people have ulterior motives, like the Abbasids did, people like Ma'mun, people like Al-Mu'tasim, la'natullah alayhim. When you have these kind of individuals, right, you take leadership positions like this, so they might try these same exact techniques, right? We saw how they tried to build and foster a loving relationship. The Abbasids did with the Shia, right? By forcing Imam al-Rida to come. By forcing Imam al-Jawad to marry, right? The daughter, Fadl. They tried to force a sense of love between them. They tried to pay off the Imam constantly as well too. They said, hey, we'll give these large chunks of money to the Imam. And that way the Shia see, hey, look, see? The Khalifa is giving money to the Imam. But the Imam saw past all these tricks, right? Imam just either rejected the money or took that money and right away gave it back to the people, right? He didn't keep these things for himself. But you see, even after all of that, of course, somebody like Al-Mu'tasim can't handle that. After seeing that, no, when Imam al-Jawad is attracting all these individuals to himself, that means Al-Mu'tasim is thinking they're being attracted to the Imam. That means I'm losing my influence, I'm losing my power, and I can't let that happen. So whereas the Imam can return to qalbin salim, you see somebody like Al-Mu'tasim goes the other way. And you see this is where, according to many historians, they say that Mu'tasim had encouraged and paid off his niece, Fadl, to poison our Imam. What historians say is that this poison that was given to the Imam, amongst all the different poisons that existed during that time, this poison had a similar effect to the poison that was given to our beloved Imam al-Mujtaba. In the sense that when Imam Hasan was given his poison, they say the effect that it had internally, sometimes poisons, they only affect a single part of the body. Sometimes the heart, sometimes the brain, sometimes different parts. Sometimes a poison courses throughout the body, and it courses in such a way that it actually changes the color. As we know with Imam Hasan, it changed him to green. And the scholars say that this is the same thing that happened to our beloved Imam al-Jawad, that he was given this poison which coursed throughout his body. And some report that when it was given to him, the strength of this poison was so much that immediately his body began convulsing. He began shaking violently. This is how strong that was, the poison was. And they say just like his ancestor, just like Imam al-Hasan, he was also spitting up parts of his organs there too. This is how much of an effect that this had. But one of the differences that we see between Imam al-Jawad and Imam Hasan is that Imam al-Jawad, when we went to go and pay him a visit, we see that at his last moments, he was around his family, that one of his wishes was to be, according to some, buried with Imam al-Kadhim, right, his grandfather, and he was granted that. But when we see our beloved Imam al-Hasan, when his journey to try to be buried next to Rasulullah, when his tabut is taken and it goes out from the house, rather than with people with pure hearts receiving the Imam and allowing him to be buried next to his grandfather, we see rather that he's met with arrows in his tabut, arrow after arrow is shot into his body. And then as that tabut returns back to the house, as Imam Hussein and Abbas are pulling out arrows one by one, we see that Zainab comes there too and begins trying to pull out these arrows. And Abbas and Hussein say, Zainab, this is not something for someone like you to do. You shouldn't be doing something like this. And she says, why shouldn't I help my brother in this situation? Imagine what Zainab must be thinking when she sees all of these same arrows in the body of Hussein on the day of Ashura. على لعنة الله على قوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره صلوات على محمد وآل محمد.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Shamma se shamma jale, silsila jari rahe, hum rahe ya na rahe, ye azadari rahe. شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے اپنی نسلوں کو سکھاتے رہو ماتم کا ہنر سینہ در سینہ کرے بس یہ عزاداری سفر جیسے حالات بھی ہو یہ عمل جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے تم اگر ذاکر شبیر ہو یہ یاد رہے چاہے اس غم کے لیے سر بھی کٹے گئے بھی جلے حرمت فرش عزا جان سے پیاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے یہ سبیل یوں ہی آباد رہے اہل عزا اور گر گر میں نظر آئے علم غازی کا یہ علم اونچا رہے یہ علم داری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے ماں بہنوں کو ہے پیغام میرا صرف یہی اپنے بچوں کو جلوسوں سے نہیں روکو کبھی یہ شہادت ہے شرف یہ شرف جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے اپنے گھر میں بھی عزا خانہ سجانا ہے مجھے اپنے بچوں کو عزادار بنانا ہے مجھے تاکہ اس نسل میں بھی تعزیہ داری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سلسلہ جاری رہے ہم رہے یا نہ رہے یہ عزاداری رہے ہے شمع سے شمع جلے سورۃ مبارکۃ الفاتحہ
السلام عليك يا رسول الله السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى أخيك العباس وأختك زينب وبنتك سكينة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليكم يا أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان سيدي الأمان 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 السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.